All right, everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Pokeshop BST podcast. We're joined, as always, with Woody, owner of the Pokeshop and Missing No Games, and Goosephone, Pokemon expert extraordinaire. And my name is Homero, behind the cameras. And we always start with the news. So the big news is that Destined Rivals is releasing on May 30th, which will be the day that this podcast comes out. And as an officially sanctioned Pokemon store, we get to start selling it on Monday of release day. So we've already had some Destined Rivals memories in the making.
Nice.
Had some polls in the shop and everything.
Awesome.
Yep. And I think we will be opening Destined Rivals for a long video today.
Yep.
Today.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite card from Destined Rivals?
Mine has to be the Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo is such a iconic villain Pokemon almost. Super OG.
I like Ariana's Flaffy. I know it's kind of a random choice, but I really like Ariana's Flaffy. And I really like the SIR of Misty's Psyduck too.
Yeah, me too.
There's
Yeah.
so many really good SIR cards in here. I want to collect them all. Just
The Lapras too. I love the Lapras.
The Kangaskhan is super nice.
Mm-hmm.
Super dopey.
All the Ethan's ones got the most like color splashed on them. I like the Ethan's ones a lot.
The Ho-Oh is epic.
Yeah. The Typhlosion is like one of the most epic Pokemon cards I've ever seen. It almost doesn't
the
look like a Pokemon.
Typhlosion is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, Destined Rivals. We'll see if we can pull any of
Typhlosion
those.
is really up there for me in my favorites.
It must be, yeah.
Wait, that's one of your favorite Pokemon.
My favorite Pokemon is Quilava.
Right.
Yeah.
The bigger brother.
I like Typhlosion less, but I still love Typhlosion.
Yeah. Hopefully we pull one today.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And the next part is over the weekend was the last regionals for this circuit, and it was in Portland. So that's the last regional, and the next tournament, there will be a tournament this weekend again, but that's special championships in Bologna.
Where is that? Italy?
Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just there actually.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Bologna, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bologna.
I was just there traveling around for the Ocarina Festival.
Nice. You got any tips for people attending?
It's cheaper to fly into the Rome airport and take the train.
All right. So day one at Portland was, I'll give you the rundown quick. It was Dragapult number 1, Raging Bolt this last weekend number 2. So climbing up in the day 1 rankings. Then Gardevoir, Miraidon Pikachu, Eevee Box, and then the Ogre Pons plural Noctowl deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then day 2 looks a little different. It's Dragapult, Gardevoir, Raging Bolt, Eevee Box, and then Goldango Dragapult made a showing on day 2.
Nice.
Followed by Miraidon Pikachu. And the top 8 was Dragapult, and then Eevee, then Gardevoir, 1 Ogre Pons deck made it in, 1 Raging Bolt made it in, and the finals was kind of like a mirror match between a Gardevoir with a Monkey Dory and like kind of straight up Gardevoir, and Gardevoir took it home.
Eevee's making it now too?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Guardy Party. Huh?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Guardy Party.
It was like a Gardevoir masterclass this weekend. Like, it really looked like that deck was the most fine-tuned and had variants within it, like with or without Monkey Dory. So, editor Homero here. I would be remiss if I did not mention the 9-2-2 12th place overall Toedscruel EX deck that made it all the way to Top Cut, piloted by Ray Chen. Here's a picture of the deck list. This is something that makes competitive Pokemon so unique, is that there is so much room for innovation within the meta and as the meta shifts and evolves. So congratulations to Ray Chen on the 12th place Toedscruel EX showing. That's amazing. And here's the Michael Davidson winning deck with the notable Rabska in Gardevoir. That was a really good tournament. And for whatever reason, like the casters were like, the inspiration was like flowing. They were like really high energy last weekend. It was really
Nice.
good. They were always about the same, but it was like really good cast. And then after that will be NAIC, but that's after.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Oh, and you were going?
Yeah.
Nice. So you can
Competing again.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
if
Good
you're
luck.
at NAIC, maybe you can meet Goosefone.
Yeah.
Yeah, find, and meet
I'll
Goosefone.
be Nurse Joy. I'll probably wear this May cosplay and Skyla, hopefully, if I can fix the straps on it.
Nice. And the next piece of news is pretty interesting. We got statistics for how many cards got printed in 2024. So there was over 10 billion Pokemon cards printed in 2024, which is actually 14% less than got printed in 2023. So that's
Wow.
kind of
And
curious.
it's still not enough.
But when you look at, if you were to chart them out, maybe I can do that for this. I haven't seen anyone make a graph for it. From 2019 is really when it just went completely crazy compared to the time before it.
Sure.
So, yeah, 10 billion cards, not enough.
Wow.
Yep.
So you're saying 2024 they printed less?
Yeah, 14% less than
That's
2023.
14% is a lot.
It is. So that might have felt why Scarlet and
14%
Violet
of a billion.
started oversaturated, and then they pulled it back at just the wrong time.
Right.
Because they looked at the whole year of Scarlet and Violet till the end of till Surging Sparks, and then by then it's too late because they're already half of months ahead of time in the works. So
it'll be good to see what this year's production looked like.
Yes.
And kind of compared to the previous years.
I think it'll increase because they keep promising that they'll have more product available.
Right.
Because we always have product here, but at Target, obviously, it's always cleared out.
Right.
Yeah. So I would imagine that this year will be the most they've ever printed, but we will see. Just because, like you said, they've been announcing publicly that they're making more reprints than usual.
Sure.
So hopefully that's the case. And then the next part of the news is one of my favorite things about Pokemon. It's how they release their official news, and that's through Pokemon Presents. And that date just got announced today or yesterday. Will be July 22nd, which is I forgot what day of the week it is, but July 22nd will be Pokemon Presents, and then we're going to get a whole bunch of new news, even though we just had one in February. That feels like just yesterday, but that was a few months ago already.
Yeah.
And that's a couple months from now. So Pokemon Presents will be on July 22nd, and that will be right in between then. Same amount of time after October 16th will be Legends ZA release date. That just got spoiled today, or just got released today. I think the official release date. So Thursday, October 16th, there will be a Switch version and then an upgraded Switch 2 version.
Sure.
And I think if you got the Switch version already, and you can upgrade to the Switch 2 version through the store. You can just purchase an upgrade. Are you going to get a Switch 2?
We'll see.
I don't think I'm getting it on release, but I'm going to get it.
Yeah, I'm going to ping.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I don't have...
I
feel like I don't have
eventually,
time.
Especially if they're going to make... Eventually, they're going to make a new Pokemon.
Yep.
Eventually, they're going to make a new Smash.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to make a new Fire Emblem.
And it's only going to be for the Switch 2 kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
I
also their virtual console library in the GameCube. Like, you can play Pokemon Coliseum and XD.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, they have a lot of really nice stuff in the virtual console library. So that's honestly what's tempting me the most right now. I like Mario Kart, but I'm not... And like, it's cool that they're finally making a new one after so long. But I'm not, like, dying to pick it up either.
Yeah, they're changing Mario Kart a lot with this one. It's like almost a totally different game.
Oh,
It's
really?
not just like straight up like the same amount of racers and just
Mario
courses.
Kart was fun, but it wasn't anything like Mario Party. Mario Party is just like one of my favorite games.
It's a good time. We should all play Mario Party sometime.
We should. It would be awesome.
Just have a good night.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll start a Patreon or a member-only videos on the channel, and we can do non-Pokemon related stuff there. That's always fun. That's like some of my favorite videos from other channels that I subscribe to that have member stuff. They do off-topic stuff for members only. That's like really fun videos. So that's all the news for this week. We actually got through that pretty quickly. It was a lot of topics, but we got through it pretty quick. And the next segment is the check-in. And Goose, you're feeling better?
Yeah, I was really sick yesterday.
Yeah.
I was throwing up.
Oh,
It
no.
was not pretty. It was bad. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital.
Oh no, that's not good.
But I woke up this morning feeling fine.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes that kind of illness only lasts for that amount of time because your body purges itself of all the
You probably
whatever
needed
was
some
bothering
rest and
yeah.
get your body rested, all rested.
Yeah. There's the saying that once you're sick, you only have one problem. You can have 99 problems, but once you're sick, you only have one.
Right.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
take your health for granted so much of the time.
Definitely. So I'm glad you're feeling better. You're feeling good, Woody?
I'm great actually. I had a good Memorial weekend, had a couple of days off, and kind of just hung out. Yeah.
And the second part of the check-in that I have on here is inspired by the Team Rocket cards. And my question for you is, can Pokemon be inherently evil? Can they become evil on their own volition?
Pokemon normally aren't evil at all. They just have evil trainers. The only time that I've seen a Pokemon really be evil is the Malamar in the XY anime
Oh, yeah.
that were like trying to take over the world and
Yeah, right.
cause a bunch of chaos. That's the only time I've seen a Pokemon where I'm like, that Pokemon is evil. Everything else has been like nurtured, right?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that. It's similar to like pets, right? Where if you train it a certain way, then it's gonna be bad or good or whatever, you know. So it definitely comes down to the trainer and how it trains its Pokemon.
I feel like there are some animals that are inherently
Yeah,
evil,
for
though.
sure. And same goes to Pokemon, right? Like obviously you get a wild primate or something, you know, when they're not evil, but they're bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or
like,
you could be really mischievous, like the one
Right.
Togepi. You could be really mischievous, but like being truly evil, I don't think like most Pokemon are born into that.
Right. You might get some naughty Pokemon that kind of doesn't listen or anything like that, but for it to like just be born evil, I don't think so. Except Mewtwo, I don't know. Mewtwo was kind of like created.
Even he was just vengeful.
Yeah. Eventually he came around, but you know.
Yeah, vengeful is a better word for it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Korean Vengeance trilogy? It's like Old Boy and then two other ones
No.
that's all about revenge.
I've
really
I've
good.
seen Old Boy, like, but I don't remember what happens. in it.
Okay, there's two other movies that sort of complete the whole thought process about vengeance. I highly recommend them. They're a little heavy. They're all extremely heavy, but they're like peak cinema. So the other side of that is, can trainers truly be inherently evil, or is that nature versus nurture as well, where it's a combination of both?
Trainers can be inherently evil.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them have to be, or there wouldn't be a good story.
Right.
Do you think that just happens to people based on like factors that are not part of nurture at all, where there's just like a wire that's crossed and you just end up like a sociopath?
Well, there
or
are
whatever?
some sociopaths and murderers in real life that had wonderful upbringings and wonderful parents, and they still turned out crooked.
Right.
So I think that sometimes there are inherent evils in humans, but most of it is becoming vengeful or having some kind of bitterness towards the past, or bitterness towards other people or a group of people.
Yes, or all of society in a way.
Or just desire for more power.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That comes up in the desire for power and control over your personal situation is what comes up more nowadays in the Pokemon villain arcs. It's more just like having control of your own situation. Like Team Yell isn't really like villainous that much, I guess. But then in Scarlet and Violet, that's really about. It's not really about vengeance. It's just about controlling your situations because they were getting bullied, right?
Yeah, and Team Star was getting bullied. And then, like, if you think about, like, Chairman Rose from Sword and Shield, he was doing something for a good cause. He was just trying to have the Galar region supplied with energy. and he just went through very terrible means of getting that
Of
goal.
getting that, sure.
But he had a good reason to do it, which I think makes villains more sympathizable.
Right.
And without considering the consequences, he like wasn't. He was not seeing the forest for the trees on that one.
Yeah.
60 damage item lock.
So yeah,
It's a 60
I think.
damage,
Do you think there's a way to
60 damage active lock, sorry.
remedy there being like quote unquote villains in the world, or is that just something that humans always have, like always just be struggle?
I mean, there's always education, there's always trying to just be good to other people, but there's always going to be, especially in higher power places in the world where people get really greedy, there's always going to be evil present. And that's like, you know, people talk about that with God, like the problem of
Right.
evil. Like,
I was gonna mention that, like, even if you talk about religion, there's always a good and a bad, you know what I mean, a yin and a yang. So it probably dates back way before us, way before anything, you know, a good and a bad spirit or whatever. So
My hand wasn't real.
just pray you fall on the good side.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
there's always both. There's always light and dark, wake and sleep. And speaking of sleep, there's one other part of the check-in where they found a gene mutation for naturally short sleepers, people who only need about 4 hours of sleep, and they put that gene mutation into mice and noted that they need less sleep, less sleep, and that their sleep is like more efficient.
Wow.
The delta waves in their brain happen sooner in their sleep cycle and last
Is there
longer.
any side effects to that, or
No. You
I
just
would love
naturally...
to only need 4 hours of sleep. I feel like I need 10 hours or I start acting a little goofy.
Yeah, same here. I need like 12 hours sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. Sometimes when I get up too early, I feel sluggish, and I just, by the time you know, I'm falling back asleep, you know? It's
Yeah, I don't like to wake up in AM if I can help it.
Yeah,
I like to wake up in PM.
right.
That's how
So
lazy
would
I can
you
be.
get a gene mutation in real life?
Can you just choose to get a gene mutation? I don't think so.
Would you? 'Cause
If you could, yeah, I would.
It's on the horizon.
I think I would too. If I only need 4 hours of sleep, power nap from midnight to 4, 5.
Yeah.
Mutate my DNA.
Get up around 5, 6 a.m. Start my day and can stay up till midnight. I'd get a lot done.
That sounds almost like a kind of Pokemon. Speaking of like Pokemon storylines, they are always on the verge of being like science fiction and fantasy all mixed together, and that kind of feels like the world we're living in right now, where there's these fantastical problem-solving things happening in the
I saw a
world.
clip online yesterday, and it was like in the military, they got all these gear that they're hopping like ships, kind of like an Iron Man suit almost.
Oh yeah.
Right? And
Yeah,
they're
that's
just
crazy.
They're just hopping from different ships in the ocean.
Yeah, the like full body jetpack suits. Yeah.
And that's crazy. By the time you know, they'll just install guns on their armor, and then they'll be
Could be on the shoulder because like you need your arms to steer.
Right, or something like that. But it's amazing to see how
Shoulder cannon.
Yeah.
shoulder cannon.
But that's also right next to your face, so you don't really want that. Probably on the back.
I was
and
thinking
It would hurt your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on their arms, they could be like Mega Man, right? Which is
Yeah.
or Iron Man or whatever,
Yeah, you have to be like completely ripped in order to handle those things. Like it's like physically straining
Right,
because you
but
have to
it's
like
pretty
hold.
cool just to see that, like them storming another ship, just using these armors and just flying around in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, those are very cool. Very seems like something that you could have in a video game.
Right.
Yeah, in real life. All right, so the next segment is hashtag not financial advice. And my question for you with multiple choices sort of, not really, I just made the list of what I think and we'll see what you think of my list. So the best place to buy Pokemon cards in order, in my opinion, is local game stores, local card shops, and then TCG Player, And then tied for me is like a corporate store or eBay. Those are like similar to me. And then Amazon last. I just say don't buy from Amazon.
Oh,
Don't buy
yeah.
Pokemon cards from Amazon. I've tried to convince people of that. If you look at the listings, they're like not real, like, or it's just all bulk.
Oh, right.
Like it's just
I've
commons
bought
and
one
uncommons.
Pokemon card from Amazon in my life, like one single.
Yeah. Did it show up and everything?
Yeah.
It's just a single?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder who is even
I
selling
feel like
singles.
Amazon's more. They sell everything, right?
It was a Superior from 2013.
That's cool. I never even looked for singles on there.
Yeah, I don't know if I would look for singles on Amazon just because there's so many sellers, and it's not like TCG specific.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fakes on Amazon. There's a lot of like just bulk. Like they sell a lot of like 50 lot cards.
Yep.
For $5 or something like that.
And it's
$10.
just 50 commons and uncommons.
Right. So I mean, I guess for like if you're not a huge time collector, you just want Pokemon cards for your kids or whatever. I guess so, but I feel like the value is not there.
Yeah, and the sealed prices are way off from
All over the
market
place, I
price,
bet,
from
yeah.
TCG market price. So as a store, was that a decision you had to make to use TCG marketplace price, or is that just would you say that's the norm? I would say that's the norm, but for you, was that
that's just kind of like the baseline.
natural decision to
Right.
make?
Everybody kind of goes off of the same stuff.
TCG player market price.
Right. When you're buying and selling, throughout the day, you just pretty much, there has to be a baseline or a guideline to kind of go off of. For me personally, I like to use TCG Player for your modern cards, and then eBay for your vintage Pokemon stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's just a lot more data for the modern stuff on TCG.
Yep.
And a lot more data for vintage on eBay. So
yeah,
just whatever has the more data. I just kind of go off of that. That way, it makes it more accurate.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy eBay a lot because you get photos, front and back,
or
and
for the
even
singles.
each corner.
Yeah.
So for vintage, when you're looking at something and it can be like a blurry line between lightly played and moderately played, and you can kind of go on eBay, look for some comps and see how people are conditioning stuff that's vintage too. I usually just go for a step down. If it's between light play and moderate play, I just look at the moderately played ones more. But yeah, it's really nice to be able to see pictures of what you're buying before you get it, and the user reviews are all very transparent on eBay.
The question in general is a pretty tough question. It just pretty much it just depends on. There's a lot of variables, right? Obviously the people that have a lot more time is gonna be picking big box stores first because they can wait in line all day. So they're not gonna go to local game stores and pay a little bit more. They have all the time in a day to go and run around to all these Walmarts and Targets and GameStops and get it for a little bit cheaper. So they might pick those big box stores first versus your average guy who has a 9 to 5. They don't have that much time. It might be easier for them to go into local game stores and kind of just shop that way because game stores are gonna have product in stock. It might be a little bit more expensive, might be MSRP, but they know that they won't have to run around all day looking for hot items when they can just go and support your local game store.
That's the other side of it for me is, yes, it does save, like I just don't like spending the time and going into crowded places and whatever, imagining being part of the crowd around the Pokemon aisle. But by going to the local game store, you support the shop and the community that is facilitated by the local game store.
100%.
You could also make things a bit cheaper for yourself if you trade cards in.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do that at the box stores. They don't,
Oh,
they
yeah,
don't-
right,
yeah, you
right,
can't
right.
trade your cards.
There's just, like I said, there's a lot of variables. Everybody has their own preference of their way of collecting. And that's the cool thing about the hobby. Like, there's no wrong way to collect. You can collect whatever you like.
Mhm.
You collect. I have a guy who collects Bell Sprouts only,
Nice.
and that's all he looks like. You got any Bell Sprouts cards, and that's the only Pokemon he collects. And kudos to him.
Just loves Bellsprout.
Just love Bellsprout. He came in for Halloween. He came in with his Bellsprout costume.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to see a Bellsprout costume.
Yeah, and it's
Did he have like a cone around his head?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's super awesome. So I mean, like the hobby, like there's no wrong way collecting. You can pretty much do whatever you like. A lot of people online like to say, "Oh, it's got to be this way or that way." There's no right way or
Mhm.
wrong way. I would just say of enjoying the hobby. So.
Yep.
As long as you're enjoying it, you're doing it right.
Right. And this
Nice.
question kind of falls into that. I mean, there's no wrong way of everybody has their own, a way of obtaining their cards. So
Mhm. Oh, the other one that I didn't write down was card shows. That's a really nice
Oh, yeah.
place to
Yes.
get singles.
Yeah.
You can find some sealed
Also
stuff
one
there.
of the best.
And then you get to interact with a
A
big
lot of
portion of
people,
the
yeah.
community.
Mhm.
Yeah, you get to see multiple places all in one building,
Yeah.
multiple storefronts, sort of, or booths.
a lot
cases.
of variety.
Yeah, and then lots of face-to-face.
Oh yeah,
Personal interaction,
You
yeah,
meet a
so
lot
that's
of new
always
friends.
nice.
Yeah.
The thing with
Um,
card shows as opposed to stores like this is that if you're looking for smaller things just to build a deck with, you can't find them at card shows. You just find the big hits.
mhm,
Yeah, car
that's
shows are
true.
relatively more expensive. You're finding like collector pieces, and some of them can go for a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
$20, $30, $50,000 items. Those things you'll find at a card show.
Yeah, they're always rolling in. With the
Right,
big-
rolling in with the
hits.
big, the heavy hitters.
Because you need people to stop at your booth and look at stuff,
Right,
you know? so-
right. Everybody's bringing out the heavy hitters.
And you never know when the person looking for that Gold Star Charizard, you
Yeah.
know, is going to show up with
Show up,
cash
yeah.
for it. You know?
Mhm.
For deck building, I would say I'm kind of a sucker and I just order it all from
Oh,
TCG
yeah,
Player.
for
I just
sure.
get the whole deck
Yeah,
on TCG Player. I don't spend the time like going picking bulk at multiple stores, but that
Right.
is more fun. But I just
It's just kind of.
like getting the deck put together.
It just
and get the
depends
deck.
how soon you
Yeah.
want it. If you need it the
Yeah.
day of, then you gotta go into a card shop and hopefully they have it. Hopefully it's
That's
organized.
true. That's true. If you-
Organized well enough for you to just go in there and okay, I'm missing this card, this card, this card. Can you find it for me? And boom, 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 we'll have it ready for you.
Editor Home Row here again. I would be remiss if I did not mention that the Pokeshop BST has the most sorted bulk I have ever seen in any local card store. So if you need bulk cards, stop by. Shout out to Pam. And it is the best sorted bulk collection I have ever seen. Yeah, regionals, they had a lot of the stores had their standard stuff separated in its own case or in its own section. So sometimes if you need stuff like you said day of, you can find your pieces, your
Or if
deck
you're
pieces.
planning like far ahead, TCG is easy. You could just put it in your list and it'll find all the sellers that has all your cards, and then you just place your order. Yeah, it's fairly easy on TCG Player. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, the next section is pack battle.
Cheers.
What is it? One to the front?
Yep.
All right.
Grass Energy,
Lightning Energy.
Smoliv,
Torchic.
Torchic,
Rotom.
Rotom,
Nidoran Male Team Rocket.
Nidoran Male Team Rocket.
Wow.
We got very similar. Steven's Carbink.
We got Misty Psyduck.
Ooh. Team Rocket's Factory.
Team Rocket's Botherbot.
Botherbot. Just annoys you.
I guess so.
Ogerpon Cornerstone.
We got Heartflame Mass Ogerpon.
Lurantis.
Pineco Reverse Hollow.
Mankey.
Manectric Reverse Hollow.
Team Rocket's Drowsy.
I got MC's Hype.
Oh,
full
that looks
art.
pretty hype.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's your next costume for you.
that would be cute. I would do it.
What's your last one?
Team Rocket's T-Tar.
T-Tar, nice.
Nice. I think Woody finally wins a pack battle.
I think
do.
so.
Dubs.
Otherwise, my record's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
You have a winning record for sure.
I was due for a W.
Yeah. All right, so the last section is always hashtag Ask Woody, hashtag Ask Goosephone, and you can leave a comment with the hashtag Ask Woody or Ask Goosephone and get your question read on air. And the first one comes from Hoovian Hamster 6835, and they say, what are some Pokemon that are great in one format but terrible in others, like Badoo being broken in the TCG but being useless in the VGC?
That's a really good question. I would say, no, there's some that are good in both. Like Raging Bolt, I think being the best example of something that's good in both. Something that's bad in one. See, I'm not like the biggest. I guess Drifloon. Drifloon is really good in TCG because you can just put damage on it with Monkey Dory and just put a Bravery Charm on it and do a ton of damage back. That one is very useless in the video game, but Drifloon in the card game is cracked. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't do a lot of VGC, so I don't know what's meta in the VGC, like in video games right now. But I'm sure
It's pretty much just Gen 9 stuff.
I'm pretty sure there's multiple Pokemons where it just kind of is really good in one, bad in the other, vice versa, or both bad or both good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
Or a Pokemon I think would be good in VGC and bad in the TCG. I don't think there's a Murkrow in TCG that really does anything.
Yeah, Murkrow is kind of like...
Murkrow's pretty good in that.
It's more like your basic, I mean, it's just a real basic Pokemon.
I don't really see... There's a new Whimsicott printed, but I don't really see that in play. Whimsicott's good in VGC.
Is there a Mew in VGC that's really good?
You can't use Mythics.
Oh, you can't
that's
use
a good
Mythics.
example,
But
though.
it's a good...
The TCG doesn't have, like, restrictions like that.
Right.
Yeah.
For TCG, I feel like Mew is always good.
Yeah, definitely. It really
Every
is.
Mew card has a good ability, a good attack, a good something, you know what I
And it
mean?
can usually use colorless energy.
Right.
Because it's like...
The
they want
moves
you
is
to
really
use it.
strong for just a couple of energies, or the abilities like crack.
And both, you know. Like this Mew both has a
Mew
really good
VMAX
ability.
was so good.
Exactly.
Even the 151 Mew is pretty good.
Yeah,
And
just the
lower
Mew
true
EX.
cost
Yeah, Mew
usually,
EX
too.
is really good, but too bad. I mean, like you said, there isn't like a VGC Mew that, or else it would be just too broken. You know what I mean?
I don't think it'd be too broken. It is cool that it can learn every move that's teachable by a TM, but
Its HP would be kind of tiny.
its stats are all base 100 across the
that's
board.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just copy your opponent's move and just send it right back to him.
Yep. I would say the evolutions don't really make a competitive showing very often because they're single types. But you can Terra them now.
Yeah, they don't really show up in actual VGC, but like in singles, sometimes you'll see like a tanky Umbreon or Espeon setting up screens. But the one you see in VGC the most would definitely be Sylveon. They can run
Sylveon.
choice specs, pixelate, and do some big damage.
Yeah.
Before Fluttermane was a thing, Sylveon was the primary form of fairy damage.
Yeah, there's no like setting up Trick Room in TCG, you know, you just have one active. It would be so cool to have doubles in TCG where you have two Pokemon all the time. That would be so complicated.
Yeah,
that would get really complicated.
That would be too complicated.
I think that sounds really fun. I always thought that would be like super fun. We should just try it.
Right.
As like a gameplay video.
Kind of like a Commander kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like more like Commander, yeah. And you can play that's also what I thought would be really fun is just 4 people free for all Pokemon battle
Sure,
where you
sure.
can just like attack anything.
Sure.
And you attack more at like a life total than at prizes. I guess you can just still do prizes. I don't know. That always sounded really fun to me. Pokemon Commander. And the other question comes from Zyno57, and they asked, what are some green flags or red flags in Pokemon, which we had asked once before, but their example is when they say red is their favorite Pokemon trainer, they think that's like a red flag.
Sometimes it is red, though. I love red. I think he's great. I actually don't like the fire red and leaf green red. I prefer the Adventures manga red. That's my red. But I feel like a lot of people that say red is the best tend to be very elitist, especially when it comes to Ash. They all hate Ash. My green flag is if Ash is your favorite character, that means that you're a real one because you watched the good long part of the franchise.
The OGs,
Yeah. Red flags. Is this for trainers or just for Pokemon?
In general, I'm saying general.
I'm saying my red flag is Greninja.
Stick it to
Yeah.
For me, I still don't understand what the heck you guys are talking about.
Yeah, my green flag is when someone collects all one Pokemon, like the Bellsprout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that I like when people do that, because I kind of do that too. I don't really have a red flag in mind. I think
Actually, no, this is
if you're just, the only thing is like if you're just in it just for the money, then that doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
So it's not really like a red flag for me. It's like a red flag for you. Like you should, if you're just in it for the money, you should
100%.
reevaluate because there's easier ways to make money.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and there's so much to enjoy in Pokemon that you would just be like depriving yourself of like all the community and all the collecting and all the gameplay,
all the
like,
fun. Yeah.
It's the biggest universe, the biggest intellectual property, the biggest creative universe that you could be a part of. So being in it just for the money doesn't make any sense to me.
100%.
Yeah.
That's boring.
Yeah.
That is boring.
There's other ways to make money.
Exactly. Yeah. You could do the same thing.
If you want to
buy and sell and trade other things that are more liquid, you could do it any time of day, and you can use all that intuition, all that same market knowledge.
Get into stocks.
And analytics. You can do all of that same stuff. And do it in a way that you can just do from home. You don't have to you don't have to put in all the legwork that comes with Pokemon. But I really love the being part of a store for Pokemon. So this is like my favorite.
It's
one
fun.
of my favorite places to be, for sure.
One of my favorite days of the week when we're filming.
Yeah, me too.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the Pokeshop BST podcast, episode 5. Way at the end, we'll say thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Thousands and thousands of people have followed on social media and subscribed for the giveaway, which we have to announce, we will announce on May 30th through a video.
Yep.
So thank you to everyone for subscribing and following on social media, and we will see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.